As you can see, tonight we've got an absolutely gorgeous evening, so I thought, why not take the car out for a little spin and record a video for you guys. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about why I think M lights in particular are one of the best cars for the money that you can buy from BMW at the moment. So if you guys are familiar with the channel, you'll know that I own this M235i, which I've been modifying and doing stuff with over the past year of my ownership. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about why I think it is really worth the money for what the car is. So first things first, let me show you guys what it sounds like. Now that part's done, I'll turn it off for you guys so you can actually hear me talk. So, one of the reasons I love this car so much is because of the sheer performance you can get out of the budget of the car. So in the UK, these actually aren't priced too badly. I know a lot of people in America actually struggle with these to actually buy them because they are actually really expensive for some reason. But in the UK, you can pick up a used, probably 50k mileage M235i for around, I would say, the 14 grand mark, which really is not bad. Now, this isn't going to be a video on comparing M cars to M lights, because obviously the M car is a completely different car. The chassis is all redone, suspension, wider arches, you name it. We're not going to be comparing that because obviously they're in a completely different price bracket again. Now, if obviously I could afford it, I would opt for an M2 comp, but I can't. So for now, we're sticking with this M235i, which I'm loving the looks of at the moment. Now, the good thing about the M235i over the M240i, even though they are identical look-wise in this 2 Series shape, this comes with an N55, which is actually found in the original M2. So there's a lot of controversial subjects about that. However, I personally love the sound of the N55. I think it's one of the best 6-cylinder engines that BMW have made that has a turbo. That's just my opinion. These guys are literally so annoying. I'm trying to record the video. For now though, I'll put a clip on screen now of what my car sounds like with this custom exhaust which I've done myself. Let me know what you think in the comments down below about how this N55 sounds. So that's a little sound clip of mine. Now these cars come with a 3-litre straight 6. If you guys are familiar with the engine, it's the M55. It's a little bit controversial about how reliable it is and the power it can make. But in my opinion, it's been really reliable. So we're talking a 2 Series chassis with decent suspension off the get-go and fairly good brakes. That also comes with 326 horsepower completely stock out of the factory. Now, in my opinion, that is a great start to a rear-wheel drive, somewhat of a light car, and a good, compare it with a manual like mine. It is honestly so fun to drive. I have driven this car with the not DCT, the ZF, or whatever you call it. I'm not familiar with the auto boxes on these because I don't really want one. But the manual in this car honestly blows me away. It's so fun to drive. It's so engaging, especially on country roads where I live. I really can't beat it. I did drive the auto version of this actually at BMW centre itself, and that was in town with loads of traffic lights, and in my opinion it was perfect for that because you're stop and starting every time, and it was honestly amazing in traffic and stuff. But I wouldn't want one out here in the countryside. So that's pretty much the engine talked about. The price point really just depends on what spec you want to go for and kind of the age. So I've got a few fair miles on this car, but I bought it on around 60k, and I've done quite a few in it, as well as upgrading loads of parts on it. However, I would say the mileage issue really is something that is personal preference. If you want to go for a really low mileage one of these, you're obviously going to pay a little bit more. If you're going to go for one with higher mileage, which could be abused, you don't know, then obviously you're going to pay less. It's completely up to you about what you guys decide. However, the other key factor in these is the spec. Now, I tried to opt for the highest spec I could of one of these. So I, of course, wanted Harman Kardon, Pro Nav, the auto lights. We've got cruise control, lane assist, heated seats. I tried to spec it as high as I could, 360-degree parking sensors, which is quite rare on these. I wanted everything that I could afford, and trying to find one was pretty difficult in a manual. But I did find one, and it hasn't got the dream spec I wanted, but it had everything I wanted at the time, and which fitted my budget. So I was pretty happy with that, and I think in 2025, if you want to get into one of these, I would recommend this over the 135 and the 140, even though the engine is arguably better. And the reason I say this is purely because of how, I guess you could say, the weight distribution. This is very hard to lose traction with. It might be down to the tyres. As you can see on the rear, we are actually running, if I remember, they are 255, so the rears are pretty wide, which does help with putting the grip down. However, I did drive my mate's M140i, and I tell you, you can just see how these cars are written off and crash so much. It was so twitchy on the rear, and that was in the dry. So we'll go on to looks for a little bit. I would say, as a 2 Series, it really doesn't look too bad. I'm really happy with the way it's looking at the moment, and there's not really a lot more I can do body-wise without getting an M car. Obviously, the M car does have a presence on the road. You can tell it's an M car with how wide it is, bigger wheels, and everything like that. So if you want the looks, if you want the better suspension, if you want a little bit more power, then I'd suggest, obviously, forking out the money and getting an M car, because it's going to be undoubtedly better. However, for the money, these M lights are really good. Now we'll talk a little bit about performance. Now, with MHD, which this car is mapped with, you can actually get surprisingly good results with only a few, fairly simple bolt-on modifications. And at the current, I guess you could say, the car is running around 420 horsepower. We've got a front mount intercooler. Obviously, charge pipe has been done, which is very common to replace on these. We've got different spark plugs. Obviously, we're running the highest octane fuel I can get nearest to me in the UK. And we're also running a K&N panel filter with a stock airbox. I kept that. As well as the full custom exhaust system, because turbos hate back pressure, so the less restriction, the better. Now, currently the car's making around 415, 420 horsepower. Compare that with the manual, and it's honestly the best car I have ever driven. I'm absolutely loving it at the moment, especially as the roads are dry now. Puts the power down really well, and it's really fun to enjoy. So you definitely can get power out of these really easily with only a few, I guess you could say, bolt-on modifications and simple mapping. The only letdown to these cars, I would say, is purely the fact it's obviously a cheaper M2, or people call it a poor man's M2. And the fact that the brakes, I wouldn't really say they're that adequate for fast road driving with these cars. And hence why the brakes on this have been quite upgraded compared to the stock factory discs and pads and lines that the car comes with. If you want to see a video on the channel of me fully upgrading all the braking system on this car, then check out the other videos on the channel. So final thoughts on this, I would say for the money, you can pick these cars up. I would definitely recommend, anyone, if they're wanting to get into BMWs or somewhat of a quite a decent sports car, I guess you could say, I'd definitely recommend it. Only letdown is, obviously depends on the mileage you want to go for and the spec. That's going to alter the price. And I would try to get an N55 that's been really well maintained with frequent oil changes and everything like that, and you'll have no issues. Now, in my whole over a year of ownership, I would say this car is well worth the money. And in 2025, I am more than happy with the way it looks. It still looks quite modern. The fact that these cars in a 240 shape actually went up to 2020, without seeing it's a 235, obviously, this could be a 2020 car for all anybody knows if they're not really into it. I think the shape has aged really well. So that's kind of my final thoughts on it, guys. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section below and I'll answer them. And if you enjoyed the video today, please consider giving it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more content on the channel, then please consider subscribing. Apart from that, I'll catch you guys in the next video, and thank you very much for watching.